All right, guys, Jed Wills back at practice.
Yeah.
First time since he injured his knee in a full capacity. We're not sure what he's going to do yet. Mary Kay just tweeted out, team says Jed Wills will be back at practice. All players on the active roster are expected to participate in some capacity today. How big is that as the Browns get ready to take on Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and a pretty good Dallas defensive front come Sunday?
I think it's really big. I mean, obviously, he's been the left tackle. Jack Conklin is switching positions. It is odd that they've had him working at left tackle if they thought Jed was going to be able to be back in time. And just because he's practicing this, today doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play on Sunday. It's been a weird offseason and training camp for Jed. We've had a lot of questions about it, but obviously it's a positive. The Browns dealt with so many injuries early last season. Right now, they're a very healthy team. I mean, who's hurt going into the season? Nobody, right?
No.
No one of significance, I don't think.
But remember, I mean, this is as healthy as you're going to be. And,
right,
and
but
most teams are.
Sure, but there are some teams that have already lost players,
Yes, they have.
And the Browns, at least going into the season, they could turn around in a week or two.
Sure.
I mean, no
but
Nick
right
Chubb,
now,
but
they're very healthy, except for Nick Chubb. Yeah,
I mean, they barely hit anymore at training camp.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to get hurt these days? Unless it's a lower extremity like an ACL or something cutting. But like when you watch these, even the preseason games, it looks like the Pro Bowls used to look.
It's prolonging careers for sure. Wish it was like that when I played.
Yeah, you might still you'd be around.
Not bitter about it or anything. I'm not.
In that case, you guys are in agreement that not playing in the preseason it was a wise thing.
No, I never said it was a wise thing. I
Look
just said
how healthy they are.
that's just an observation.
I'm just saying you like the health, right?
But you remember what we learned last year and the year before? The injuries the first couple of weeks were astronomical. We were seeing guys falling like flies. Why?
Yeah.
Because it was like training camp.
I guess we'll see what happens a couple of weeks in.
Yeah, we will.
Are the Browns still healthy then? Did they get a lot of injuries? Guys are playing less and less in the preseason, certainly across the board. The Browns starters played less than most guys, but most teams.
Yeah, I'm not embracing that fact. I was just stating it. That's the way it is.
You know this. Sometimes you go into training camp, and the objective in training camp is different from team to team. Some teams, you like, oh, listen, we didn't like how we tackled last year. I think we're a little softer. We're going to put pads on more. Some teams, if you got a veteran-laden squad and guys are injured, coming off surgery, look how many people had surgery. Greg Newsome, Thomason. We know about Jed Wills. We know about Deshaun Watson, Chubb. All these dudes, and by the way, Amari Cooper was banged up at the end of the year. Sometimes you would like to get to work, but the objective is, hey, look, if I need to get some of these dudes back, we might be a little rusty a little bit.
It's not like there were a lot of positions up for grabs.
No,
like this starting roster is set. Nope. Where was there a fight for a starting job?
G, let me ask you
and
this.
when was the last time that's happened?
Yeah,
G, let me ask you this real quick.
That's a major positive.
Okay.
It's true.
Even if Jed Wills, let's say, practices today, fine. At this point, this late in the week, would you want him to play Sunday, or would you feel more confident with Jack Conklin on the left side?
Well, they used to, and maybe Dustin can speak to this a little more. In the league, certain coaches got a rule where you got to
at least practice one day.
You got to at least practice, or they got to see you.
Yeah, I mean, like
out there.
Even like if it's a Friday practice, because that's like a lighter kind of like. You're not in full pads,
and this is his
shells,
first practice
whatever,
since when?
Shorts.
Ever?
Like in a minute.
Yeah.
Like
a minute being like a year.
Although it's not like Jack Conklin's been practicing for that long. It's only been a week.
Yeah, but we're talking about game shape, guys, and that's something you're not going to be able to do.
You play yourself into game shape.
Yeah,
there's no way
he hasn't practiced, he hasn't played. Yeah. I'm sure he's doing tons of conditioning with the training staff on the side, but that's not going to get you prepared to go into a ball game. Especially when I haven't checked the weather on Sunday, but we know it's going to be probably high 70s, 80s, maybe 90s. I don't know. It's hot in September.
It's going to be very cold.
It's
68 is a high, 50 is a low.
Well, that's perfect then for Jed Wills to come back and
rain.
play.
I wonder, guys, if I know this is not common with offensive line, but you see it every once in a while. I wonder if the Browns would consider using both Jed and Jack Conklin.
I had talked about that last year.
Yeah, because neither is probably in.
Kind of spell each other a little bit.
So Dustin, I had brought this up as an idea last year.
James Hudson.
Last year we did it out of necessity. But I was watching games last year, and I kept seeing the new thing on the defensive line is fresh and rotate, right? We haven't seen an offensive adjustment to that. So when the game is in the balance and on the line, you've got defensive linemen that have played 60% of the snaps, and you've got offensive linemen that have played 100% of the snaps. And I brought up on the show last year, why haven't we gotten to the point where we rotate some of these offensive linemen in and out just to spell them, just to keep them as fresh as their defensive counterparts?
But I don't know. That's not really new, Jay, on the defensive line.
I think
that's been happening for a while.
I think it's more so now than ever. A couple of years ago, the Eagles were really doing it. I would like to look at the number of snaps played by the defensive linemen last year compared to 5 years ago. I think it's down. Look at the Eagles. Look at the Browns. Jim Schwartz was clearly doing it.
But it's always been done to some degree.
Always.
On the offensive line, you've never done it.
But you know what? Like, it's situational. So it's third down. Yeah. You're going to put your third long. You're putting your defensive pass rushing in.
Right.
So why hasn't the offense evolved to where everything is specialized in sports?
Sure.
Look at baseball, for crying out loud. You got sixth inning guys now. Sixth
Right.
inning relievers.
Your wide receivers, your tight ends, your running backs
Everything
are
is
in and out.
specialized.
Yeah.
So why isn't the offensive? I'm sure there are guys that are better at run block than pass block.
But that would give it away,
Well,
maybe.
It would give it away,
Yeah.
but the scoreboard gives it away. It's third and 14. We're not running the ball.
That's
I
true.
think what when you'll probably say this is offensive line is more about being in unison and lockstep. Like
That's what everyone was saying when I posted last year.
on offense, everything is predicated on I saw something and you saw something, and did we see the same thing? I saw this guy come inside, the tackle twisted around, but there's a linebacker right here. I got to know that the guard saw exactly what I saw so we can then be able to pick that up. And sometimes when you don't have that level of communication, if you notice, the three guys in the middle, Taylor, Pochich, and Batonio, those guys are really, really locked in. They kind of know what to do. They know how to pass things off kind of like, without doing it, without thinking about it. But it's kind of difficult when you got tackles that haven't played because you're counting on them to pick the protection schemes up.
Yeah,
and
it's more of a
different things.
concert.
It's
Everybody's working
Right.
in tandem with
like
one
I
another.
think your idea, like in theory, it's smart, it works, it makes a ton of sense. The problem is like left tackle specifically is such a difficult position to find one guy to put out there, let alone to have two guys you trust to go out there. And to Garrett's point, which is probably the best point about this whole thing, is that you play on a string, and you said like a concert. I mean, it takes two to tango, right? I mean, if the left guard is all of a sudden you don't have Conklin in there, and then Jed Wills is in there, but you know that Jed Wills tends to have a certain tendency that he does, and you're more comfortable with certain. The point is,
defensive linemen work individually. Offensive linemen work as a
defensive
group.
line. You're like, see ball, get ball. Like, go get the quarterback, period.
React.
That's all you got to do. You react, you go. Like, that's it. As an offensive tackle, and Garrett, you played the offensive line, so you know better than anybody how difficult that is to develop the continuity, chemistry, whatever you want to call it there, especially between the left tackle or right tackle and your guard next to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Those two have to be so in sync and be able to communicate.
All right.
I think
Sorry,
we
shut you down. My bad.
No, listen. I throw stuff
No,
out
I
there.
think it's a
that
good
people
idea.
all the time.
I think it's a good idea.
I just wonder if we'll ever get to that because sports is more specialized today than anything.
Now, what they could
You have quarterbacks that are specialized based on situations.
What you may see is certain packages if you wanted to go heavy, right? If, say, for instance, if you wanted, you could. This is a wrinkle.
Well, we've always seen that bring in an extra tight end.
But they would bring in two tackles. You think it's a heavy run play, but then Kevin Stefanski runs play action with those guys because they're better pass blockers.
If Jed can go, I think they're going to play him. He has the experience at left tackle, so if he can go, I think he's going to go.
Kevin Stefanski was just quoted 1 second ago saying, Jed's expected to be a full participant in practice and, quote, has a chance to face the Cowboys on Sunday.
Oh,
you
great.
go.
Okay,
Good
I
news.
think
He
that's
wouldn't
good
say that
news.
if he didn't think he had a chance. I mean,
Yeah.
for real. So that is very positive news. But it also kind of worries me a little bit, to be honest with you, because he hasn't played. And so I don't want it to be irresponsible for Kevin to put him out there. And I don't think Kevin would do that. He's such a smart coach, good coach, all those things. But I am a little like, again, he could look great in practice this week. They're not doing live drills in practice.
Well, he's going to get 2 days of practice.
Right, but it's not
And
live.
that's it.
It's not live.
No, it's not live. And you said, well, he hasn't played. Hell, he hasn't practiced.
Yeah.
So, the last time he was involved in a collision was a year ago.
I just worry about the wind when you're an offensive lineman. That's why they make you do all that stuff, because when you get gassed and you get tired, now you jump off sides, you false start. Now you get holding penalties because your technique gets sloppy. Now you got legal hands to the face, and then you put on the fact that he's going to have to get on his horse out there. It is Micah Parsons. Leroy said he ain't set an edge, but Micah Parsons got the two-way go. So to put him out there, if he's not ready to go, I would rather play the guy that's more ready to go and bring him along slower because I don't want him to re-injure something trying to go out there and play at a speed he's not ready to.
And the other thing, too, is it's not like we're talking about a stalwart left tackle that you could plug in and never think about again. This isn't Joe Thomas. Jed Wills has been the furthest thing from consistency since he's arrived. 1 week he looks like he's here forever, and the next week you think, are they going to waive this guy? So you don't know what you're going to get. And with Dallas, you really don't know what you're going to get. So it'd be a watch and win situation for Browns fans.